Thanks for taking the time to meet with me.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to tell my story.
3 weeks ago, the course that you've been charting politically made an abrupt turn. What has that time been like for you?
It's been horrific. It's like getting hit by a car. You're in shock. I can't tell you how difficult the emotional toll has been on myself, on my family, on my friends, to be maligned on national television by absolute lies. Words don't even describe what it was like. I was devastated, and it took about a week for me to get my strength back and want to fight to clear my name.
What did you do for that week?
Well, when this all happened, like I said, I was in a state of shock. The first thing I did was went back home to Barrie, and my family and friends kept on coming to visit to check in on me. My sisters wouldn't leave my side. My parents, everyone was, family and friends come to you because they know this wasn't me. They know this wasn't my character. And I didn't leave the home. I didn't want to see anyone. And then I had to go to RVH. RVH, the Royal Victoria Hospital in Barrie, is our local hospital, and I was having surgery to remove a cyst on my spleen, and I didn't want to reschedule that. It's important. You never know if this would be serious or not. And I went into the hospital wearing a ball cap and sunglasses because I didn't want to talk to anyone. I thought the world was crashing down on me. And one guy in the waiting room immediately recognized me. He said, "Hey, Patrick, we're behind you." He puts his arm on my shoulder and says, "Everyone believes you. We know this isn't you." And then everyone else in the waiting room realized it was me. And every single person, and there's a line there, every single person stood up to shake my hand. Every single person. And I got back to my car after the surgery and after this experience, and it was very emotional because these people I didn't know knew that wasn't my character, wasn't who I was, it wasn't how I was raised, and they wanted me to fight, to stand up for myself. And it was that night that I called my former campaign chair. I said, "Send me the allegations that CTV gave you. I want to look through them." And that's when I started to look through them, realizing the massive fabrication that it was, the massive lies that were included in these allegations. But it was that experience at RVH that sort of gave me my voice back, gave me my strength to fight, because it made me realize that people back home were on my side. Coming back from the hospital, I also stopped at a gas station, and a middle-aged lady, while I was pumping gas, came in up to my car and said, "Everyone believes you. Stand up for yourself." And to be honest, in my car, I broke into tears because it made me realize that the people back home who know me best know that this entire thing was fabricated, know that it was nonsense, and they gave me the strength to stand up for myself.
You said you called your team and you asked for the email that had the detailed allegations. Had you not seen that email until that point?
They had sent it the night that all this happened. And I immediately said to my staff that it was complete lies, but it was a whirlwind. They said, it's complete lies. We'll go up and have a press conference and explain to CTV. We'll send a lawyer's letter, say that they're absolutely wrong. But everything happened so quick, we didn't have an opportunity to look through line by line of everything that was included in these fabricated stories. And that week later, after going to RVH, I had the chance to look through the timeline on these lies and realize that I could prove that they were nonsense.
A lot of men who have been accused of sexual misconduct in recent weeks and months have simply gone underground. Mm-hmm. Why are you sitting here today speaking with us?
Because I want to expose the truth. I want to find out who's behind this. I want to find out why this was done, why I was thrown to the wolves, why people would make up stories about me. I want to get to the bottom of this. It's not right.
Is this for political reasons, because you want to resurrect your career, or is this personal?
It's personal. I've dedicated 18 years of my life to public service. I was raised by a family that cared about treating women properly with respect. I've got two younger sisters who I adore. I've got a family I adore. They maligned my name. They maligned everything I stand for.
Inappropriate sexual behavior in Canadian politics happens. Fact. You are saying in this case we should not believe what these women are saying. Why should we believe you?
Because they're absolute lies, and I can prove it. We can go point through point on why these are absolute lies. On the first allegation, the allegation was this happened 11 years ago. At the time, 11 years ago, I was living in a property that would have made this allegation factually impossible. The allegation was that I took the woman up to my second floor bedroom and closed the door. 11 years ago, I was in a property that didn't have a second floor. The second floor was a rental unit. You couldn't even connect to the second floor from the area that I was living. And in my bedroom, there wasn't even a door. There's no second floor. There was no door. It's an absolute lie. That's the first allegation.
Let's stop there and let's drill down on what was alleged by that accuser. We were told that she was a high school student in Barrie at the time, that this was about 11 years ago and she was 18 years old, that you met her in a bar through a friend. Do you remember meeting this person in a bar through a friend?
This incident never happened. It's nonsense. I remember the person being someone that hung around Barrie, but the allegations that were written are completely incorrect.
Let me continue, though. This woman says that you invited her and her friend back to your home and you gave them drinks. Did you do that?
Fictitious, lie, nonsense, absolutely incorrect.
The woman says you invited her upstairs, you shut the door to your room, and you asked her for oral sex, which she did. Did this happen?
Absolutely not. Fictitious, lie, smear. I didn't even have a second floor where I lived at that time.
She said, quote, "It was like a controlling thing. I just remembered. I wanted to go." This sounds awful. And the detail that she is recalling will make a lot of people believe it. You're saying this whole thing did not occur.
The entire thing is a fabrication, it's a lie, and if I caused any hurt, because these accusers, I don't know who put them up to this, but they know it's a fabrication. If there is one iota that I caused any hurt or disrespect to these two accusers who have fabricated these stories, then I encourage them to call the Barrie Police at 705-725-7025.
To your knowledge, has any criminal charge been laid against you, or is there a criminal investigation?
Of course not. Why would there be? These are fabricated stories.
The second incident allegedly involved a member of your staff. She was a university student at the time, and it allegedly took place around 2013. Now, we won't be naming names for either accuser here to respect them, but when you read her name in the detailed email that you received, did you know who she was?
Yeah, the member, it was a summer student in 2013, and I was absolutely shocked and bewildered this allegation was being made. This is an individual who worked for me in 2013 at the time of this alleged incident, continued to work for me for the next year and the next summer, volunteered on my leadership campaign. After she worked for me, came out to my speeches as PC leader at a supporter table, liked my photos on Facebook, just photos of me in a hockey jersey or eating lunch, even liked a comment on Facebook about how I was a great boss, a great leader, a great friend, and would make a great premier. Even just last year, called me for help on an article, called me as a friend to reach out for assistance. So why all of a sudden, someone who was a big fan, who was liking comments that I'm a great boss and a great friend and a great leader, would do this? I want to know who put her up to this. I want to know who's behind this, because this is just horrific.
Well, what if she herself finally had the motivation to do it? Part of the Me Too movement is about women finding their voice and finally having the courage to speak vocally about something that they were afraid of stating previously. What if she just found her voice now? That's a legitimate thing.
But it's fictitious. It's an absolute lie. And frankly, CTV, this is yellow journalism on their part, not doing their job, an execution before trial. I know there are many good journalists out there in Canada, but the way this was done, It was a hatchet job. It was frontier justice. There was 3 eyewitnesses at that event. There was witnesses that spoke to CTV and said they are wrong. And CTV chose to leave that out. The witnesses who were there said it didn't happen. All the evidence of her behavior for the following 5 years suggested it didn't happen. And the reason the witnesses are saying it didn't happen, the reason her behavior suggests it didn't happen, is because it didn't happen.
Let's go through the details. It's alleged that there was a work event, a hockey charity event, Hockey Night in Barrie. She was part of a group of people who continued partying after the event took place at a local bar. Did that part happen?
Yes, every summer when I was an MP, I made it my project to raise funds for our regional cancer center. My late grandmother, my maternal grandmother, had been a Blue Coat, which is a volunteer at the hospital. And so my job every summer was to raise funds for the hospital, and that became my passion when Parliament wasn't sitting. That year, it was, I'd been doing it for a number of years, and that year we raised a record amount, over $250,000, got the biggest NHLers in the world to come out. It was a smashing success, and everyone, the sponsors, the volunteers, everyone that helped out, went to a local bar afterwards to celebrate the fact we'd raised so much for cancer care.
This woman says you gave her a string of drinks, you and others. Did you?
Absolute lie. And on record is the general manager from that establishment who said that that did not happen, that I did not buy drinks. And frankly, it's well known in Barrie that the folks mocked me for not buying drinks because they used to tease me that I sat on my wallet. And I didn't buy drinks because I don't drink.
You've never drunk?
I've never drank.
She claims that the party then moved to your house after the nightclub. Did it?
Yes, we had the party went from the bar to my house.
There was a group of people who went there?
A number of NHLers, volunteers, sponsors, supporters of the event all came to my house.
She says by that point she was drunk. Do you know that to be true?
I think most people were drinking. There was a girl I was seeing at the time who was at the party, and I was more focused on her than what anyone else was doing.
One might question why you had a younger employee who was drunk at your house at all, that shows poor judgment.
A lot of the people that had worked on the event, were frankly, were summer students in my office. They were all sort of university students who had worked on this event, and they dedicated their summer to making this charity fundraiser a success.
But should you have drunk summer students at your house?
Well, first of all, I don't have booze at my house. I don't buy people drinks. It's just not my nature. But in retrospect of what I've been through, I don't ever want to have someone back at my house again. I don't ever want to have an employee unless there's witnesses there after what I've been through. I couldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
One would think that's when you call someone a cab, as opposed to keep the party going. This woman claims you invited her and a friend to your bedroom to show them photos on your iPad of a recent trip to Asia. The male friend left, leaving you two alone. Is that true?
The friend has told CTV that did not happen. That is fictitious. And as soon as her behavior became inappropriate, I immediately drove her home. The woman I was seeing at the time was upset that this individual was sort of following me around the house. And I immediately drove her home because I thought that was the right thing to do. I raced her home and came back to the girl I was seeing.
She says you were kissing her, you laid down on her, and she didn't respond. Did that happen?
Absolutely not. It's completely incorrect.
I want to go back to what you said a moment ago. You're saying that this witness who was there, that apparently was in the room with her, refutes those claims and did so to CTV, but that was neglected in the reporting?
It's yellow journalism when CTV doesn't tell the whole story.
This woman calls what happened to her sexual assault. What do you call it?
This is an absolute fabrication. I don't know who put her up to this. I don't know why she has made this absolute lie. But if I caused her any harm, there's one iota that she thinks that, she can call the Barrie police, because this did not happen.
Again, the level of detail here is rather convincing. You're saying it didn't happen either in part or entirely.
Why do you think this happened? Think about the timing of this. We're a few months away from a provincial election. I'm leading in the polls by the largest margin the PC's had in recent memory. We have more members in a membership registry than at any point in the party's history. We have more money in the bank than in modern memory, and we're winning by-elections everywhere. We just won a by-election in Sault Ste. Marie, where the PC's hadn't won since I was 2 years old. We won a by-election in Scarborough and Toronto that was a Liberal fortress. All indications was that I was about to become elected premier. We have incidents from 11 years ago and 5 years ago, fabricated, that come out of nowhere. Why do you think it happened this way?
Well, I want to get into motivation, but I want to leave that for a little bit later in our conversation, if that's all right with you. I want to ask how your relationship changed with the woman after that night.
Every indication was that she was a big supporter. Every indication was she continued to work in my office, ask if she could work in the Ottawa office during her university year, continued to work for me the next summer, volunteer on my leadership campaign, like my photos on Facebook, come out to a speech that I was giving as leader of the PC party as recently as a year and a half ago, where I was speaking at the Economic Club in Ottawa to cheer me on, liking a post on Facebook that said I was a great boss. This is after she worked for me.
So you're saying it never got weird between you? You never picked up that something was off?
She left every impression that she was a huge fan. Just last year, she called me for help on an article she was writing.
Did she ever express to you that she was upset?
Every indication she left me was that she was a big fan.
Was there anything sexual that happened between the two of you that night?
That night, she tried to kiss me, and I drove her home immediately. And the girl I was seeing at the time can attest to this. Her friend can attest to it. The friend, the CTV contact, can attest to it. This was, I went up to my room alone, and this individual was following me around. I thought I was doing the responsible thing by immediately taking her home.
Had there ever been a sexual relationship between the two of you?
No, absolutely not.
She tried to kiss you, and you put it to rest right away.
And drove her home.
What have you learned in recent weeks about the relationship between this second accuser and one of the reporters for CTV?
So through online research, the accuser is close friends with one of the CTV reporters that broke the story.
How do you feel about that?
I find it shocking that CTV wouldn't reveal that.
One might suggest there's a conflict of interest.
It would absolutely leave you that impression. To have a friendship with the reporter doing the story, which obviously benefits their career, and the accuser, why that was not revealed by CTV is shocking.
I want to drill down on something you said there a moment ago. Not only did she come back to work with you again the year after this alleged event took place, but you're saying as recently as 15 months ago she attended an event and sat at a table in support of you?
Not only did she volunteer on my PC leadership campaign, but after I was elected PC leader, she came out to my speech, a major speech I was giving in Ottawa, to my friends and supporters table to cheer me on.
Did you ever hear whispers that she was upset with you? Did she ever say to someone, "Oh, this thing happened with Patrick, it left me feeling uneasy"?
Every impression she left with me was that she was a huge fan.
Do you want to address the rumors that circulate about you?
Happy to answer any question.
Do you know what they are?
I'm sure you're about to tell me.
But do you know what they are?
That I'm 39 years old and not settled down, and that I've dated a number of women.
That you're a playboy?
I would like nothing more than to settle down. There's actually a TV interview where they're interviewing my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, where I promised her I would be married by the age 40, and I'm 39. I've had my heart broken, I think, like everyone has. I've been in a number of relationships that have lasted 2 or 3 years, where I have loved deeply and I've been hurt deeply. My younger sister Stephanie has 3 young boys. There's nothing more that I would like to settle down and have kids and raise a family and meet the love of my life. Unfortunately, I've been in a career where I've lived on a plane. When I was an MP in Ottawa, I spent half the week in Ottawa, half the week in Barrie. And as leader of the PC party, I spent more time in hotels than I have my home. I traveled around the province nonstop, and it's one of my big pains and regrets in life that I'm 39 and I don't have a family, and I would give anything to have a family. Frankly, the only silver lining in this tragedy, in this public assassination and smear, is that I have time now, and that hopefully I'll have time to dedicate to having a family.
In political circles, when people say the name Patrick Brown, conversations usually come up about a very active dating life and an inclination towards younger women, sometimes much younger women. Is that a fair characterization? I have
dated girls in their 20s, I have dated girls in their 30s, and I have dated girls older than me in their 40s. I guess it's unusual. I'm a young politician. I was elected when I was 22 to City Council. I was elected to the House of Commons when I was 27. Usually politicians have gray hair, they're married, and in many cases have kids or grandkids. And so, to grow up in politics is something different. But I've had girlfriends that I have absolutely loved and thought they would end up being the ones that I marry. But in every relationship, there's some relationships work and some don't. And frankly, I bear the responsibility for being more focused on work than making time for the relationships that I've had.
There are also rumors that you are sometimes in situations where a woman is drinking, sometimes excessively, and you are not, and that there has you perhaps have a position of advantage over them. Is that true? Are those rumors true?
I don't buy women drinks. I know those were the allegations made in CTV. They're incorrect. It was a personal choice I made when I was very young not to drink. My mother said that my younger sisters followed everything that I did. And she asked me, she said, if I started drinking, your sisters will follow you. And she asked me to promise her I wouldn't drink. And I didn't. My other sisters didn't drink while they were in high school because their older brother didn't. And there I was in my mid-20s, I never drank, and my sisters were done high school. And I thought, if I can get through my mid-20s not drinking, I'm not going to start drinking now.
Did your campaign team ever flag these personal rumors as a potential issue?
There was always worries about a liberal smear job or a liberal attack, but frankly, we didn't pay a lot of attention to it because we didn't think a media outlet would take a smear job seriously.
So nobody ever raised these concerns before? You never heard this is going to be an issue, the fact that I date or have dated and there might have been younger women involved, this is going to be a problem for the optics of this leadership campaign? No, because the people involved in my, first of all, in the leadership campaign, when I ran for the PC leadership, folks there was deep digging on my past, and everything said there was nothing inappropriate. When I became PC leader, there was a major news outlet that did deep digging in Barrie because it's a new PC leader, and nothing came up because I have a squeaky clean past. Squeaky clean?
Well, I've always respected women. I've always been good to women, and I've conducted myself in a responsible manner. I'm a good brother, a good son. I've frankly tried to always be respectful to women, like I would want my own sisters to be treated. It's. I'm sure it would be more convenient for campaign people if I was married and had a family, but you don't do those things for political purposes. When love happens, it happens. You can't force it.
One of the things we've seen in the Me Too movement is that often when men are accused of sexual misconduct and women come forward, then there is often many other women that are compelled to speak out also. In your case, we haven't seen that. But Do you think it's possible that other women may come forward with allegations against you?
I don't know who's behind this. I know it must be I believe it's my political adversaries. I'm going to look behind every stone, under every stone, to find out who set this up. But if they can set up 2 women, what would stop them from setting up another? And frankly, I'm worried if they could do this to me, who else could they do this to?
You're saying these women were set up? I mean, think about the personal turmoil that must have been at stake for these women. And one of them, to a certain extent, has been identified. We've chosen not to identify her. There's a lot riding in this for that person, emotionally, psychologically. You think that they would actually do that?
Why would they do this? Knowing that these stories are fabricated, knowing these stories are fictitious, that's why I want to know the truth. Who's behind it? Who manipulated or got them to do this? How that came about? I want to get to the bottom of it. Because frankly, if they can do this to me, who's ever behind this, if they can do this to me, they could do it to someone else too. And I wouldn't want my worst enemy to be through what I've been through. The public maligning, the public lies that I've been through is worse than the most vicious nightmare that you can imagine.